If you're thinking of writing a manual for a registered yoga school with Yoga Alliance, then you've probably looked at the core curriculum that Yoga Alliance requires. I think there's 49 different core competencies that have to be described in your Yoga Alliance application. And we're going to go through all those core competencies in our next series of videos about writing your manual for your RYS. Are you ready to become a yoga trainer? Welcome to the Yoga Trainer Fast Track.
We help experienced yoga teachers become trainers in their very own yoga teacher training school.
If you wish it was easier to have your own training, we share tips and tutorials to make your wish come true.
If you're an experienced yoga teacher, like and subscribe to get free resources so we keep making more videos.
Hey everyone, I'm Aruna.
I'm Claire.
Claire's here. We're in person. So exciting to be together here in Nova Scotia. And we are working on some info about the core curriculum for those writing manuals for a registered yoga school. It's not easy. We did another video about it, and it took us a lot of work. You're kind of coordinating all 200 hours of the core curriculum, plus how you're going to deliver the training.
And assess the training.
You've got to have your descriptions, and you've got to say who's going to be teaching the training, and then you've got to figure out the hours. The core competencies, you need at least 30 minutes in each core competency. But you're obviously going to need more than that, because with only 49 core competencies, that would only cover less than 100 hours of training if you only put 30 minutes. So let's look at the very first category, which is techniques, training, and practice.
And that's a total of 75 hours of your complete 200-hour program. But within that, there's several core competencies that you have to touch base on in your manual and discuss. And the first one, the asana category.
Asana category. So under the asana category, there's 4 core competencies. So minimum of 2 hours. I think this is probably like the majority of our training falls under this, because one of the core competencies we really focus on a lot, and that's the third one we'll be talking about today. The first one is a historical context of asana. So not of yoga, this is of asana. What content will your training cover regarding the historical context of asana?
Right, and something that we chose to focus on was the roots of asana, so where the specific poses came from, so their names, where they came from, were they inspired by nature, sort of. And then our whole training is sort of based around the 8 limbs of yoga. So how does the specific posture tie into the philosophy component? So a lot of things are being discussed and revisited throughout the entire 200 hours that you only get a little bit of time to discuss. So even though it's one category, you're coming back to it. It's sort of threaded through the 200 hours. You're not discussing, roots of asana in one portion of your training. It's something that you keep referring back to, is how it ended up working out for us.
Yeah, and that being said, though, it didn't end up being a lot of hours in our syllabus. I think we only had 1 hour under historical context of asana, so just a little over the minimum, because we're really just saying, the minimum, but then we're covering the asana in the other core competencies. So for instance, the next one is poses specific to our registered yoga school's lineage. If you're writing your manual, you're going to have to think of, which poses are going to be in your manual and in your training. And so, some schools have only a few poses, and then some have a lot. So that's what you're going to have to decide under the poses to include. What's poses specific to your lineage in addition to sukhasana and savasana will you cover? How will you cover these poses?
And what's interesting, I mean, we decided on a hatha lineage, and we look at most of the traditional hatha poses, but we also decided on some variations to include because of modern day life and who we're training. And we also looked at some of the fairly traditional poses and eliminated them from our training. So you have a lot of things to consider when you're developing your syllabus and writing your manual as far as what to include. The asana sounds like the easy part, but there's a lot to consider.
Mm-hmm. And then when we look at the science of yoga, we see how certain poses are actually, if they're done a lot, can be actually more harmful than good to the body. So you don't want to include those ones in your training either. Then we have complete sequencing. So this is the third core competency. Complete sequencing, asana, pranayama, meditation to achieve a particular effect safely. What will your trainees learn through guided practice? So this is the techniques, training, and practice.
And this was a huge component of our training. So we got 75 hours in the techniques, training, and practice category. And then this core competency alone took up 40 hours in the way it unfolded in our design.
Yeah, that was our focus. We wanted students to come out really competent with sequencing. So, I've heard just like students say that they spend hours and hours creating lesson plans. Not graduates of this program.
No, and I've seen it in some advanced trainings as well. People not quite being sure how to sequence a lesson plan. And that's almost unfathomable because it's a huge part. We use lesson plans, we review them, we analyze them, and then students have to sequence their own and practice, teach to each other. So there's a lot going on in this category. And we look at how to, the categories of poses, what to include, how to build to peak poses, what's your theme of the class. There's a lot added into this category, which is why it's such a substantial amount of time.
Yeah, whereas if you were someone like Bikram where you just have the same 26 poses, I'm sorry if I'm getting that number wrong, but
I think there's a methodology.
Same poses like I could see why you wouldn't know how to sequence if that was your training.
Yeah.
So if you're planning the training, think about what you want to teach your students. What do you want them to be competent in when they graduate? And then the final category under asana is shared anatomical and alignment principles plus contraindications. So what shared anatomical, alignment, and contraindication principles are delivered, and how do you integrate these concepts into your trainees' understanding of asana?
I think what worked well for us was dividing the postures into pose categories. And even that, we found there's a variety. There's core poses and arm balances, but there's also poses that are more therapeutic in nature, and they fall into different categories. And there's poses for specific ailments. So for us, one way that we looked at doing this, and for your consideration, is the different ways that you can categorize poses to see what is shared about them anatomically and then therapeutically. And then how to teach that to your students, how to deliver that, and how to assess them on their comprehension of that understanding. So all of these things are going to be required on your Yoga Alliance application.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so that checks off the asana subcategory of the techniques, training, and practice. This is all included in the Yoga Trainer Fast Track program if you're looking for a program that's done for you. If you're trying to write one on your own, I hope this helps you with some information.